The storm opens. The sea was no longer calm, that it writhed like a living creature, its surface split by jagged streaks of lightning that turned night into silver daylight. The mortal ship groaned under the pressure of monstrous swells. Sailors screamed, ropes snapped, sails tore, as if the ocean itself had declared war. At the center of this storm, Serenya stood tall, glowing with abyssal fire. Her silver hair whipped around her face, her markings pulsed like living constellations, and her abyssal blade shimmered with blue-black light. Across from her, rising upon a wave so vast it blotted out the stars, was her father, King Naravan. His trident glowed like molten gold. His crown burned like the sun drowning beneath the sea. Around him, hundreds of armored sea knights emerged from the depths, their spears forged from coral and pearl. Their war mounts great seahorses and whales, the royal legions of the sea. His voice rolled like thunder. Serenya, Oceara, my daughter, my shame, you dare rise from exile. You dare wield the abyss. Serenya lifted her blade. Her voice cracked the storm in reply. I did not choose the abyss, father, it chose me, and I will not kneel again. Her hand sliced through the air. The water boiled. From the depths erupted shadows, the guardians of the trench, creatures not seen by mortal or immortal eyes for centuries. Leviathans with eyes like burning coals, tentacled beasts wrapped in chains of lightless metal, serpents with scales darker than night. They howled, their voices shaking the ship to its core. Kalin staggered back, shielding his men. His heart hammered as he looked from Serenya to the abyssal horrors surrounding her. She was magnificent. She was terrifying. She was both. The sea itself had become a battlefield. And the storm opened wide. The armies collide. The silence before the first strike was unbearable. The sea churned, lightning cracked, and for one impossible heartbeat, abyss and kingdom stared at one another across the storm. Then the first roar shattered the night. A leviathan surged upward from Serenya's side, scales black as obsidian, its eyes burning like volcanic fire. It crashed into one of Naravan's armored whales, teeth sinking into its flesh. The ocean erupted into red foam as the two titans thrashed, their cries shaking the heavens. Charge! Naravan thundered, his voice carried by the storm. His royal knights hurled forward, their spears glinting, their mounts tearing across the waves like arrows. Serenya raised her blade. Its edge glowed with abyssal fire. Her voice rang out like a song torn from the bones of the deep. Rise! And the abyss answered. Tentacles erupted from the black water, slamming into Naravan's knights, dragging some down, screaming into the trench. Sea serpents coiled around seahorses, snapping their armored riders in half with a single twist. Abyssal wolves, beasts of shadow and salt, ran upon the surface of the water itself, tearing into the front lines of Naravan's army. The sea became war. Kalin clung to the ship's mast, his men shouting in terror as the ocean around them transformed into chaos. Every wave carried death. Every lightning strike revealed monsters tearing each other apart. By the gods, Kalin whispered, this is no battle. This is the end of the world. The clash was relentless. Naravan himself hurled bolts of golden lightning with his trident, each strike vaporizing swaths of abyssal beasts. Whole serpents turned to ash in an instant. Yet for every guardian that fell, two more rose, pulled from the shadows by Serenya's will. Her blade was alive. It hummed in her hands, feeding off the chaos. With each swing, arcs of black fire cleaved through knights and shattered coral spears. She moved like a storm given form, her hair silver lightning, her eyes storms incarnate. Naravan watched her with rage, but also something darker, fear. Then the sea itself split. A colossal shadow rose, so vast it dwarfed even the waves. An abyssal colossus, a creature of pure darkness with a crown of glowing horns and arms like mountains. Its roar shattered lanterns aboard Kalin's ship. Serenya's voice boomed, commanding it. Break their line. The colossus slammed its fists into the water, sending tsunamis surging outward. Naravan's knights were flung like dolls, their mounts crushed beneath waves. But Naravan was not powerless. He raised his trident, chanting words older than any kingdom. And from the deep rose his greatest weapon, a titan sea dragon, scales of sapphire, wings spanning across the horizon. Its arrival turned the storm into fire and thunder. Father and daughter had summoned gods, and gods had come to war. Father versus daughter. The storm howled like a living beast. Abyssal shadows tore into Naravan's legions. Royal knights drove spears through serpents and wolves of the deep. Colossus clashed with sea dragon, each blow shaking the horizon like the cracking of worlds. But all of it, every scream, every wave, every death, was background. The sea itself bowed as its true war began. Naravan rose upon a golden wave, trident blazing with the power of kings. His crown burned, defying the storm. His voice was thunder. You were born to inherit my throne, Serenya. You were born to rule under my law. But you chose the abyss. You chose corruption. Serenya answered not with fear, but with fire. She stood atop a cresting wave of shadows, her blade humming with abyssal power, her silver hair lashed in the wind, her markings glowing like stars at war. I did not choose chains. I chose freedom. And if that means standing against you, Father, Then so be it. Their eyes locked, a clash of blood and destiny. Neravan struck first. His trident hurled a bolt of golden fire so bright it split the storm. Serenya raised her blade. An abyssal energy curved upward, devouring the light. The collision birthed an explosion that tossed ships like toys and silenced the battle for an instant. Kellen's ship nearly capsized. Sailors screamed as waves higher than mountains rolled across them. Kalen himself clung to the deck, his eyes locked not on survival, but on her Serenya. His Serenya. They clashed again and again. Her blade struck his trident. His trident struck her blade. Sparks of gold and black tore holes in the sky. Lightning bent around them. Waves cracked beneath their feet. Father and daughter moved not like mortals, but like storms wearing flesh. Every strike was a memory. Every counter, a wound long buried. You were my blood, Neravan roared. You were my cage, Serenya answered. He struck, aiming for her heart. She turned the blow, her blade grazing his crown. For the first time, the king bled. Golden ichor spilled into the sea, glowing like fire across the waves. The legions gasped. The abyss howled in triumph. Neravan's eyes blazed with wrath. Ungrateful child, you think the abyss has made you strong, but you are still mine. Serenya's voice broke into a scream, her blade burning hotter, darker. I am not yours. I am my own. She swung with all her fury. He countered with all his hate. The sea itself split half black, half gold, a scar carved across the world. The storm of truthly winds that had once been gentle companions now howled like 1,000 grieving voices. Waves rose like mountains, their peaks clawing at the heavens, their troughs plunging into shadowy abysses. Serenya Oceara stood at the center of this chaos, her silver hair whipping around her face, her eyes glowing with a light that could not be extinguished. This was no ordinary storm, it was the Sea King's wrath, unleashed upon a daughter who had dared to love beyond the tide's decree. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the waters in blinding silver. Thunder followed, deep and relentless, as if the ocean itself demanded submission. Orion, the human prince who had stolen Serenya's heart, stood at the cliff's edge, reaching out to the tempest that separated them. His voice was lost in the roar of waves, but his eyes burning with love and defiance spoke louder than any word. Do you see it, father? Serenya cried into the gale, her voice carrying the force of both sorrow and defiance. This is not rebellion. This is truth. This is love. The sea surged, swallowing entire fragments of coast, as though the ocean itself wished to erase the human world. Serenya dove into the heart of the storm, her body cutting through the waves with both grace and fury. For every strike of the current meant to drag her down, she pushed upward, propelled not by strength alone, but by a heart ablaze with love. Unchained, when she emerged from the raging sea, Arion was still there, his hand outstretched, trembling but unwavering. She swam to him, the storm screaming all around them, and as their fingers touched, the impossible happened. The storm hesitated. The waves paused mid-crash, suspended as though the world itself held its breath. Love had defied the tide. Serenya Oceara, the abyss awakening, the trench yawned before her like the mouth of a beast older than time itself. A darkness so complete, so suffocating, that even light seemed to drown within it. Serenya's wrists burned with silver shackles. Her skin, scarred by their cruel enchantment, the guards who dragged her here spoke no words. They dared not dot above them. Her father's shadow loomed like a god of wrath. King Neravan raised his trident, its tip glowing with merciless power. Let the abyss swallow her, he thundered. Let silence teach her what loyalty could not. My daughter is no more. Only a traitor remains. The words cut deeper than the chains. But Serenya did not lower her head. Her hair streamed around her like liquid silver. Her eyes glowed with a fire no ocean could smother. She whispered, more to herself than to the king, you may strip me of your throne, but you cannot strip me of my soul. And with that, she was cast into the trench. The fall was endless. Water crushed around her. Darkness swallowed her whole. The silence of the abyss was not empty, it was alive. It pulsed. It whispered. It clawed at her mind. Thousands of voices, ancient and sorrowful, echoed in her ears. Child of Oceara, forgotten heir. Do you hear us? Her heart pounded. Who speaks? She cried into the blackness. We are the forsaken, the voices moaned. The daughters, the rebels, the lovers who defied their kings. We are your blood. We are your fate. Shadows coiled around her wrists, wrapping over the silver shackles until they shattered like glass. Pain seared through her veins, but along with it, strength. A strength deeper, older, fiercer than her father's throne. The abyss had not devoured her. It had crowned her. Her body glowed with markings of ancient power, swirling blue fire that traced her arms and chest like constellations. Her tails shimmered with obsidian and silver, more fearsome than any merfolk alive, and in her hands, unbidden, appeared a weapon carved from darkness itself, a blade of living water, singing with forgotten songs. For 3 days, Serenya drifted. Within the abyss, neither alive nor dead, her body remade by forces older than kingdoms. Dreams plagued her, visions of Kalen, reaching for her across storm-tossed seas, of her father's throne crumbling into sand, of the ocean itself, bowing before her name. When she awoke, she was no longer a princess, she was something more, a queen of the Forsaken, a daughter of the abyss. A storm clothed in flesh, from the shadows of the trench, creatures stirred. Leviathans with eyes like dying stars, serpents that slithered through the black, the souls of mermaids who had been cast away. Before her, they knelt. They bowed. They whispered her name, Serenya Oceara. Her chest ached with a fierce and terrible clarity. She had lost her father, her home, her crown, but she had gained a kingdom far greater, kingdom of the forgotten, the broken, the unloved, and with it, the power to tear down the chains that bound not only her, but all who had been silenced. Her voice rose into the abyss, strong and unshakable. Father banished me. Love condemned me. But here, this my exile is not my end, it is my beginning. I will rise from these depths, and when I return, I will not beg for a throne. I will take it, not for me, but for every daughter who was silenced, for every love that was forbidden, for every soul that was cast into the dark. The abyss roared. With her, a symphony of voices, a storm of shadows, and so began the reign of Serenya Oceara, not as a princess, not as a daughter, but as the chosen child of the abyss. Serenya Oceara, the return of the abyss, queen. The tides shifted unnaturally. As Serenya ascended from the trench, the ocean carried her upward, not as a prisoner, but as a storm reborn. Schools of fish fled in trembling silence, coral paled as she passed, and even the great whales swam in mourning tones, as if they sensed the balance of the seas had changed. Forever, when her head broke the surface, night greeted her. A black sky, pierced by silver starlight, stretched above. For the first time since her exile, she breathed the air of the mortal world. It burned, sharp and wild, filling her lungs with both pain and power. And there, far across the ship floated, its sails torn, its deck lit by flickering lanterns. Her heart clenched. Kalen. The mortal prince stood at the bow, his eyes scanning the endless waters, searching for a face he thought lost forever. His hair, once gold, was damp with storm spray. His hands, once steady, trembled against the rail. He whispered into the wind, his voice raw with hope and grief. Serenya, if the sea has taken you, then take me to. But if you still live, me, please, show me. Her body shook, tears welled in her eyes. But she did not reveal herself at once. For the woman he had loved, a daughter of the sea, fragile and chained, was gone. Now she was fire wrapped in ocean's skin, crowned by shadows, burdened with a power she barely understood. Would he still see her as Serenya, or as something monstrous? A wave rose beneath her, cradling her body until she stood upon its crest, glowing with the abyssal markings that wrapped her skin like constellations. Lightning split the sky, illuminating her silhouette. Her hair streamed behind her like molten silver. Her eyes burned with midnight fire. Kalen, she called. Her voice rolled like thunder, but carried the ache of 1,000 wounds. The prince froze, his breath caught, his knees weakened. For there, upon the raging sea, stood the woman who had haunted his every dream. He fell to his knees, clutching the rail. By all the stars, Serenya, you're alive. She smiled faintly, though her heart throbbed with fear. Alive, but changed. He shook his head violently. Changed or not, you are still mine. My vow still stands. Stars or sea, I will find you. But destiny is never so simple. The waves around them churned violently, black foam frothing as the ocean itself groaned. From the depths rose shadows, massive forms with glowing eyes, guardians of the abyss that Serenya now commanded. They circled the ship like wolves around prey, their presence making even the bravest sailors tremble. Kellen's men shouted in terror, grasping their weapons, their voices quaking. Monsters, demons of the sea, she's brought the abyss upon us. Serenya's heart splintered. To them, she was not a daughter, not a savior, not a woman. She was a curse. She raised her hands, and the abyssal guardians stilled, though their glowing eyes remained fixed on the mortals. Her voice cracked as she cried, I am no curse, I am no demon. I am Serenya Oceara, daughter of the sea and heir of the abyss. I did not come to destroy you. I came for him. Her gaze locked on Kalen, but, even as he stepped forward, desperate to reach her, the sea split with greater fury. A colossal wave surged, and upon it appeared another figure, King Naravan. Her father, his trident blazed like a dying star, his crown casting fire into the storm. You dare return, he roared. You dare rise from exile and consort with mortals. Serenya's body shook, but she did not kneel. Not anymore. She lifted her blade of living water, the weapon gifted by the abyss itself. It sang with ancient voices, harmonizing with her own fury. Father, she shouted over the storm, her voice trembling the sky. You cast me into darkness. But I did not drown, I was reborn. You call me traitor, but I call myself free. And I will fight you, not as your daughter, but as the queen the abyss has chosen. The sea itself quivered, torn between king and queen, father and child, tradition and freedom. Kellen's voice rang out, breaking through the chaos. Serenya, whatever happens, remember, you are not alone. Her heart surged with fire. Her blade gleamed with destiny. The war of tides and thrones had begun. But the pause was only a moment. The Sea King's voice thundered from the abyss. Ancient and merciless, you cannot defy the blood of the ocean, Serenya. You are bound to the tide, and he is bound to the land. Together, you are a wound that cannot heal. Serenya's tears mixed with the salt of the sea. Yet her voice did not break. Then let me be the wound, she declared, her words like steel in the storm. For wounds may bleed, but they also remind the world that it is alive. The storm roared once more, fiercer than ever, as though her defiance had split the heavens. Lightning struck so close that Arian shielded his eyes, but Serenya only swam closer, her body glowing with a radiance not of this world. The ocean was not just water, it was memory, power, and blood, and Serenya was ready to fight all of it, even if it meant losing herself forever. The battle of tides to ocean churned, darker than midnight, its depths alive with fury. From the abyss rose the Sea King Titanic, crowned with coral and shadow, his trident glowing with the light of imprisoned stars, his eyes, like whirlpools, locked upon Serenya Oceara. You dare raise your heart above the tide. His voice echoed through the storm, shaking cliffs, cracking the sky itself. You are my daughter. You are of salt and current. You are not his. Serenya, chest heaving, hair plastered to her face by rain and spray, raised her chin. Her voice cut through the chaos. I am yours by blood, father, but not by chains. My heart belongs where it beats the truest stand. It beats for him. The Sea King's roar sent walls of water rising higher than mountains. Entire ships, anchored far from shore, were swallowed like insects. The world trembled. But Serenya did not cower. She swam forward, eyes blazing with a determination that turned her fragile frame into something unbreakable. Arion, drenched upon the cliff, shouted into the gale, Serenya, do not face him alone. But she had to. This was not just a battle for love, it was a war for freedom. The Sea King struck first. His trident pierced the water, sending spirals of lightning through the waves. The ocean obeyed him, surging forward, in a wall meant to crush both Serenya and Arian. She lifted her arms, summoning the hidden magic of her bloodline. The water curved, bent, and shattered against a shield of shimmering light that radiated from her heart. Her defiance stunned even the sea. You wield what is mine. The king thundered. No, Serenya whispered, her voice carried by the wind. I wield what was always mine. She rose from the water, half mermaid, half radiant flame, her tail shimmering into legs, her body glowing with power that neither land nor sea had ever seen. She hovered between worlds, the embodiment of both and of neither. The Sea King lunged, trident aimed at her chest. Serenya caught the strike with her bare hands. The force sent shockwaves through the storm, splitting the sky open. Clouds whirled into spirals, rain lashed sideways, lightning painted the world in silver, but she did not break. Instead, the glow within her grew brighter, searing through the storm, pushing back the darkness of the sea itself. For the first time, the Sea King faltered, his expression cracking into disbelief. Love is not weakness. Father, Serenya cried, her voice rising with the storm. Love is the tide that no trident can command. The ocean roared in answer, conflicted, torn, between the fury of its king and the truth of its daughter. The waves no longer struck her, they circled her, as though listening. The storm hesitated, trembling on the edge of surrender. Orion stumbled closer, his hand reaching again. The sight of him, that anchor of her heart, ignited Serenya's final strength. With a cry that shook the heavens, she pushed the trident aside and released all that she was: mermaid, daughter, rebel, lover. Her light burst across the sea, scattering the storm like ash. The Sea King staggered back, blinded by the brilliance, as though the ocean itself had turned against him. And in that silence, Serenya Oceara stood unbroken between land and sea, between love and blood, no longer a princess bound by decree, but a queen forged by choice. The crown of two worlds. The sea lay trembling after the storm, vast and quiet, as if it too had been struck silent by Serenya's radiance. The waves that once sought to drown her now curled gently at her feet, shimmering in reverence. The storm clouds tore apart, revealing a sky washed in gold. The Sea King, her father, lowered his trident. His mighty shoulders, once unshakable, sagged beneath the weight of what he had seen. For the first time in his reign, he did not command. He listened. Serenya Oceara. His voice was no longer thunder, but something almost human, almost breaking. You are no longer the child I sought to guard. You are a tide beyond even me. Serenya's heart ached. Tears mingled with the seawater on her cheeks. She stepped closer, her voice trembling but strong. I never sought to destroy you, father, only to be free, to love without chains. The sea will always be in me, but my destiny is not only beneath its waves. The king's gaze shifted to Arian, fragile yet unyielding, standing drenched on the cliff's edge. He saw no weakness there, only the same fire he had glimpsed in his daughter, and for the first time, he understood. Slowly, painfully, the Sea King sank to one knee, letting the trident dip into the water. The ocean echoed his surrender, its roar softening into a song of calm. Then be what neither sea nor land has ever known, he said. A bridge between worlds, a queen of love, not chains. Serenya's tears fell freely now. She rushed into her father's arms, and though his embrace was heavy as the tide itself, it carried no more resistance. Arion, breathless, stumbled forward. Serenya turned to him, radiant with relief, her hair glowing under the newborn sun. She reached out and at last, he held her hand without fear of losing it. For the first time, land and sea touched without conflict. The ocean rose beneath them, lifting Arion's ship gently from the rocks. Instead of swallowing, it carried the vessel to safe waters, as though Serenya's will had become the will of the sea itself. And there, upon the horizon, with gulls soaring above and sunlight dancing on endless waves, Serenya, Oceara, and Arion stood united, not princess and mortal, not prisoner and rescuer, but equals, bound by love that defied kingdoms, storms, and gods themselves. The sea sang to them, no longer a cage, but a blessing. And in its song, Serenya heard her new name whispered by the waves, Queen of Two Worlds.